Isn't there some Batman quote about if you live long enough, you get to become the villain? I'm saying it all wrong. It's been a long day. Um, it's funny about comics in this community, and it's all over the place. This isn't just comics, but I think I've got some good comic examples. I wanted to talk about a trap that all of us can fall into. It's very easy to fall into it, and many times we don't even realize we've done it unless we've got a really good friend or somebody who's kind of from the outside going, "Hey, hey, watch out! You're veering in the wrong direction." It's easy to become the same things that you despise. Why does this have to do with comics? What does it have to do with our enjoyment? I'm going to get into that. Hey everybody, this is Perch. This is probably not the longest video, but I wanted to kind of lay out a scenario for you as for lack of a better word, a cautionary tale. And the moral to this story is be smarter than the people who drive you crazy. Be smarter than the people who make mistakes that you see and recognize and know those are mistakes. Don't fall into those same traps as if you can, and get a buddy who can help steer you right that you trust that can give you some good outside opinions. But let me walk through this with you. Several years ago, Donald Trump gets elected to president in 2016, and, within all over the place, different people are pissed, and other people are happy. It was a nice, happy, pissed mix. I think the reason why a lot of people were pissed and so pissed is they legitimately didn't see it coming. And I think there's, by the way, lesson number one in all this: don't live in such an echo chamber that you're missing out on really obvious things. Now, as I'm recording this, is September, and a lot can happen between September and November. But right now, history suggests that Donald Trump will lose. Why? Well, because when you have a crisis like this, when the economy suffers, when these different kind of pieces come together, now the economy's back up. Bear in mind, please don't come and argue with me about whether it's good or bad. That's not the point I'm making. What I'm saying is history suggests that getting a second term is tough under these conditions. History. Now, granted, things may be different this time. Maybe he wins, but Trump is down in the polls. Maybe that gets better. There's plenty of time. The polling is maybe inaccurate, quite likely inaccurate. It was inaccurate last time. There's lots of reasons why the world may change. But don't be the guy, the woman, the whatever that listens only to your echo chamber and believes, like, there's a guy on Twitter who just a couple days ago was arguing with me that not only would Trump win, he would win all 50 states. He would carry the entire country. So not only is that not going to happen, there's no historical precedent for that happening, but don't be insane. Places like Washington State, uh, California, they're not voting for Trump. It's not going to happen. To kind of, but regardless, don't listen so much. This guy's convinced because his echo chamber was saying, "No, Trump has this in the bag." Don't do this because it makes you look like a fool. Just like the people on the left who believed that Hillary had it in the bag and then lost their minds the next day. Remember how those people look insane and crazy and pathetic? Don't be those people. Just, again, you don't need to go into the world believing, you're glass half empty and any of that. Just be grounded in reality. Know where to go for facts outside of your echo chamber. But regardless of all that, so Trump wins, and people melt down, and people in the comic community especially melted down, which was not a huge surprise. The comic community is more left than right, just politically, generally speaking. It fits with the creative community and writing and stuff in general. And then one editor over at Marvel writes basic to the effect of, "We will remember who voted for Trump. We will remember." And I've talked to this person since. That tweet did not come out like they intended, but it read pretty ominous. It read like there was a list being created and like people were going to be watched. I mean, it read pretty bad. Like it was you can't read that tweet and not think, yikes, there's somebody creating a list, and Like, I mean, it wasn't a good tweet. And so regardless of whether she intended it that way or not, it certainly came off pretty ominous, pretty bad, right? Um, so fast forward to today, and we've got Daniel Cherry the third, who's come in at DC, and he is he's been involved heavily in a lot of social programs, and he believes in economic justice and kind of some of these topics, and he's a supporter of Black Lives Matter. If you go to his Twitter feed, you'll see them tagging Black Lives Matter and other things in his social feed. um, the interesting part, so this cuts both ways. This is why it's important to be more clever than the people you perceive as your enemies, right? So on one hand, um, it is, as I said before in the other video, I always think if you're a public figure, tagging yourself to a movement you don't control is dangerous. Even if you believe in what the movement currently is, I mean, there's plenty of history now that shows us that, tweets from 5, 6 years ago can come back to haunt us. Unless you really want to be in the business of constantly cleaning out, deleting, changing your tweets around, be careful of tagging yourself into things you don't control. Because somebody else controls it, they can change the message, they can change the dynamic. I mean, who knows? Black Lives Matter 5, 6 years from now could. I mean, it only takes a few really kind of horrific things to happen. And some might go, they've already happened, but I'm talking even more. And that tag can become super toxic, can become dangerous. And unless you really want to go and comb through all your old tweets because you casually supported this thing that, maybe seemed good on the surface to you or whatever it happens to be, just maybe be careful of that. But on the same end, be careful of this knee-jerk reaction. So just like that editor at Marvel said, everyone who voted for Trump, mentioned Trump, was positive to Trump, we're going to be watching you. You're bad. Be careful of doing the same thing in return. Don't be that person. Don't go, oh, I see that they've got a post here praising Black Lives Matter. I'm going to be watching you. Now, granted, maybe you're just a fan. You're not in a position of power. They are. That's fine. It takes on a whole new dynamic and weight and level of sinisterness when you're in power, and potentially you're going to use that power to make choices. But the generalization is the part where you fall into the same trap as some of the people you're criticizing. I've said it before in a lot of videos, you have to look at people as individuals. Yes, their actions do tell you what they're like as individuals. But if you go and you make a quick little look, and I'm seeing a lot of people right now are going to Cherry's Twitter feed, and they're like, look, I scrolled back, 2 months, and I see a bunch of Black Lives Matter posts and posts for equality, and this must mean, it's that jump. This must mean he's the enemy. It must mean he's on the wrong side. He's against me. What's weird is people who are looking at that and going, well, this guy is against me. That's an interesting kind of double jump. You're first of all, you're seeing a tag, and you're making a judgment about the person's character from pretty little information. And by the way, just for the record, when you find more information about a person, it doesn't mean it's all good. You may find out more that's terrible, that's even worse. It's not like, sometimes I say, you need to get all the facts. And people are like, oh, this is you just defending the person. Not really. Those facts can reveal worse things, often do. When you get the rest of the facts, you discover it's like, whoa, that shallow thing that I was pretty upset about is nothing compared to this, deeper horror in their background. That happens tons of the time. But you do need to get the facts, because if you're going to go and you're going to make this assumption based off very little information, and then further, you're going to then assume because of that little information, this person is your enemy, and maybe you're in trouble or handicapped as a result from this from where you stand. It perpetuates this kind of dynamic of not really digging into the character of people and just looking at surface details. Again, I'm not saying ignore those surface details. Those surface details are little bits that tell what a person is. But just like the editor said, hey, if you voted for Trump, you're my enemy, or we'll remember you if you voted for Trump. That's saying you went to the polls, you made a choice on a person, and it defines you, everything about you. For those of you who are listening to me right now who voted for Trump, um, I'm sure you're very different people. You're not all the same. That's ridiculous. You all have your own opinions. I know Trump voters who are heavy into legal marijuana. I know others that believe that's a sin against God. And everything in between. We're not defined by one attribute. And sometimes those other attributes are better and sometimes they're worse. Regardless, it makes us human. I guess my point is don't make the same mistake that Marvel editor or many others have by assuming we know everything about a person based on a couple data points. And don't immediately go to war with those people because of those data points. It doesn't help. In that case, you're just being the same as a lot of the people that have driven you crazy over the years. That doesn't make any sense. People should, I believe, have they have the right to prove if they're good or nuts. Everybody gets that right, and we react accordingly. Anyway, feel free to take this advice. Don't take this advice. Ignore it. It's just my perspective to you. Um, I think that a lot of things are going to play out over the next few years, and the smart people are going to be the people who form your judgments in your mind. We judge people all the time. Anyone who says they don't judge people is lying. Everybody, every moment of your life, you're making assumptions, you're making analysis about people, you're judging. And just be open to having that analysis shift and change. Be open to new information. Doesn't mean, I'm not saying give everybody a fair shot right out the gate with everything. Learn, assess, and then react. That's the key to life. As I said in the other video, I wish Daniel Cherry III well. I hope he can bring some value to DC and turn it around and solve its marketing woes and build a strong company. That's what I hope. Will he do it? I don't know. I'm seeing a lot of people make comparisons like, oh, it's another Sana Amanat. I think that you could not find two different personalities from Sana Amanat and Daniel Cherry III. I think they are radically, radically different people. It doesn't mean one is good and one is bad. It just means they have very, very different approaches. And we'll see how it all plays out. Anyway, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Like, subscribe, click the bell for notifications, shoot me an email, follow me on social media, and thanks for listening.